So Tiny Tina's Wonderlands is finally out now, and all of my Borderlands fans will finally rejoice, since we finally have another installment into the Borderlands world with a brand new IP, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. Today's video we will go over my first initial hours actually playing through Tiny Tina, and I can give you my kind of gist on what I was thinking of when I was playing it and just see how well the game is within the first few levels. I'm pretty sure I made it to level 10. Jump right into the video. It's your host Chaos DTV here at Addicting Inc. As in today's episode, we will be discussing a few different categories that I kind of came up with during my scripting of this video to talk about Tiny Tina's Wonderland. First of all, let's talk about the story. With Tiny Tina being a complete spin-off title and from the original Borderlands series and being a successor to Borderlands 2, Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon's Keep. Now, we do have a brand new adventure with the crazy Tiny Tina, and Wonderlands takes place directly after that assault on Dragon's Keep, and Tina being the dungeon master and able to change the world on the fly in this tabletop RPG D&D styled game, as the players are on a pursuit to chase after the Dragon Lord after he didn't cause enough havoc inside of the world of Tiny Tina's. Now, the biggest thing I do want to talk about is the gameplay and the combat of Wonderlands. Character creation is by far one of the most wackiest, most wildest things that I've probably have ever seen in character creations games. And for me being a longtime Borderlands fan, they never really cease to amaze me when it comes to character creation. Like the different ways of you can change the size of your head and you get these real wacky, tacky type of like faces, and I love every second of it. I've always been a Borderlands fan. I've loved their humor. I loved how they always can change something and to make it like completely funny. Now, the next thing is the class system. Now, there is essentially 6 classes in the game, which I chose the Graveborn class, and the rest being the melee classes, which would be the Berserker, the Clawbringer, and the Stabomancer, and then the other 2 ranged classes would be the Spell Shot and the Spore Warden, and of course the third one would be the Graveborn. Now, I do want you guys to stay tuned. Definitely subscribe to the channel and like the video, because I will be having a Graveborn guide coming out soon. I'm currently on level 10 right now, so give me a sec. Let me see how I want to make this build, and I'll be having you guys out a video soon. Next thing is, I do want to talk about, to all of my Borderlands fans, the weapons and the many variations of the weapons is still highly present in Tiny Tina's Wonderland. That is definitely something that would never change, and probably one of the best things that makes Borderlands just this type of game, of how many different guns and different ways these guns can perform. Some have elemental effects, some of them have status ailments, some of them give you your standard like, oh, high crit, high stability, high damage. You got the basics, but it's just the wackiness and the real quirkiness of these weapons that really makes them shine. And it's real hard trying to make a build when you got one weapon that does this, one weapon that causes ice damage, fire damage, and really expresses how that creativity you can get as a Vault Hunter. Well, in this case, you're a D&D player in Tiny Tina's world. Now, I did take one quick note. The gameplay itself is so buttery smooth. Like, I'm sliding in, sliding out, jumping, dodging bullets, switching from enemy to enemy, just taking them out one by one, hitting crits all day, doing my spells and my abilities, which of course I'm a Graveborn, so I focus mainly on spells, and just casting them left and right and doing many things. Like, the gameplay is so hectic and it's just very fast paced, and I love it ever so much. If you love fast-paced games, if you guys have never played Borderlands or any of under the Borderlands titles, if you want to play Tiny Tina, please go ahead. Now, granted, Tiny Tina doesn't play too much into the story, so you don't need to play too much. Now, just know she was originally first started the Borderlands 2, the original part, before they dropped the actual DLC. If you just want to hop in with friends and just have a wacky fun time, hopefully the gameplay above me is kind of doing justice and showing you like how cartoony the game is, and it definitely brings happiness to me. I love this game so much. Now, to my knowledge, the character class max should be at least level 40. Now, I'm only taking this as an assumption because in the game you do get to see a mythical rank, which I'm going to take a guess it is actually the max rank. Since you do gain that within the game is broken up into multiple parts of leveling up. Pretty much once you hit level 7, you can be able to get your second ability and your main character trait that makes you who you are as a class. And then from there on, build your class however you want to build the class in. And with the creative choices that you get during gameplay, definitely will be shooting down the rabbit hole of trying to figure out how I want to build my class, because man, as a Graveborn, it's so much fun playing as a Graveborn, switching from spells and really focusing on different ways of trying to have my companion deal extra damage. And it's a lot of backwards thinking. Like, I'm trying to really think about how I want to play out with this class. And do I want this to be a high crit build? Do I want this to be beast build where I just have a bunch of minions and I can just have them all attack? I'm working on it. Eventually, probably by the time I do hit level 40, I actually will have a general idea of what I want my class to be. But let's go talk about a little bit more of the reason why I call it the Dungeons and Dragons. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands is essentially a D&D based game, as it does have an overarching theme, as I mentioned earlier when I was talking about the story portion of the game. Now, during main gameplay, you will be able to hear Tiny Tina and a little bit through the first initial cutscenes, as you are playing a Dungeons and Dragons game with Tina as your character. And the game actually does justice by having you switch in and out of the overworld, which is basically the board game version. And then when it's time to actually play the actual game, you would basically camera zoom right in and you're going to be shooting, you know, doing what you need to do. Like I said, you will see it in the top hand corner of what I'm talking about, but that switching in and out is definitely have a good flow to it. It's very fluid in between doing it. So it has its real nice blend of tabletop and real-time gameplay. Now with the overworld, you actually can do a lot of digging and diving in between and exploring the whole board game. So it's not like the overworld is kind of bare minimum or anything of that nature. Like, no, it's a lot of goodies. You can definitely grab a lot of cool things while in overworld, and then when you come across these things called encounters or mini dungeons, you can counter them either A, by walking in the tall grass, which basically reminded me of Pokemon, walking into the grass and then boom, enemy appears, and now the game soups you right in, and now you gotta go handle that encounter. Or you can come across like these encampments or whatever the case may be, which I call them mini dungeons because they don't technically play part in the actual story. And it's something you can do on the side to either get more gear, loot, or just level up entirely. Now, the Tiny Tina's world is very interactable. That's one thing that's cool. Like, you can actually punch these bottle caps, which you will start to notice that the overworld has a lot of things from the real world. Like, currently I'm in an area where I can't go to this area because it's being blocked off by a Cheeto Puff, giving me the hint of, oh, they were eating chips and stuff and dropped it in the board game. And it's, you know what, we're gonna leave it there. And then when it's time to actually move it, Tiny Tina will remove it from the game. Which, one thing I do want to say, no, while you are in actual gameplay, whenever time she starts speaking, and because she is the dungeon master, she actually will add things. Like, she was just, oh, there's skelly men here, oh, there's a ship over there, and all of a sudden you would just watch your entire game just start popping these things out of existence, and now you gotta go take care of whatever the object or enemy in front of you. One last note that I do gotta say is I love how chaotic Tiny Tina is. Just the random burst of energy she gets, and when she chimes in and talks, it's one of those things that really makes me more immersed since I'm such a Borderlands fan. I really like what Gearbox have been doing with Tiny Tina ever since they originally announced her. Well, not announced, more like ever since they really starred her in Borderlands 2 when you meet her for the first time. And they're just this young girl, I'm pretty sure she's 13, and she just has this crazy imagination. She's very wild, chaotic, good. I can't even say, yeah, I'm pretty sure she's chaotic good. This crazy, rambunctious little girl, and she just has all of these, like, random bursts of energy of, like, boom, and it's just crazy. And I just love how much they just really expanded on her character. And even if you don't even know who Tiny Tina is, if you play Borderlands 2 for the first time, or at least Tiny Tina's Wonderland, you would love how crazy and chaotic her character is. But I want to jump on to my final thoughts of the video, and my final thoughts of this video is this game is crazy addicting. I stayed up this whole weekend. Ever since the game dropped on Friday, March 25th, I've stayed up this whole weekend just trying to play as much as I can. I got at least a couple hours in for Saturday and Sunday just to, talk to you guys about it today. And if you haven't touched it yet, you haven't bought it, please go buy it. And I do have a question of the day is, what will be your favorite class that you will want to play as? Or if you are already playing Tiny Tina's Wonderland, what class are you and what build are you working towards? Also want to give you, if you do want to buy the game is currently at a hot $60 price tag. For my PC players, it is on Steam, and the game is also cross-play between PC and console. So definitely hop in there, play with your friends. It's one of the best dopamines I get of just like how much loot there appears. Like, I miss playing Borderlands games. I haven't played them in quite some time. Anyone who is a fan of the Borderlands series should definitely give this iteration or this IP definitely a try. At least play it for a bit, see if you like it. I've been seeing some reviews of some people who are a little bit of against it, but a little bit of liking it. Right now, it's kind of mixed on both sides of the spectrum, but right now, Chaos is having a blast and is addicting, and I'll probably be playing again right after recording this video. Like, the nice flow between the gameplay and the overworld, there's so much, like, it's so much that you can get into, and you can just keep digging into the game, exploring more and more. You can find, they're definitely added a bunch of content between both the overworld and the actual end game. Like, when you're in a world, you can collect secret collectibles, some different lore scrolls, the rolling dice or the lucky dice that give you random loot. Certain areas got X amount of many of them, like, oh, I have 5 lucky dice in here, and you just gotta find them, and it's just random loot. It's definitely a blast. If you guys are already playing it, please tell me what you think about it, or if you haven't got onto it, tell me why you're on the fence about playing it. But that's all I got for you guys today. Like I said, definitely stay tuned for the Graveborn class guide that I will be dropping for you guys. And as always, this has been your host, Chaos DTV, here at Chaotic Inc., signing out. Peace.
Make 'em manifest. I don't sleep, that's so weak, don't plan to rest. I'm from a hood where you die if you don't pack a vest. No culinary degrees, but whipping crack the best. Chefing, hard times taught lessons. Praying every night to pull up in park Benzes. What's my home is what you call trenches. You wouldn't last a day seeing life through all lenses. It's all tension, no sun, and rain and plenty. Full-time job, still can never make a penny. I ain't